Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. My co host, Chip Jandaszewski, is on vacation this week, but with me is Stephen Bibisi. Stephen has been a great source of information on several of our sister podcasts, so we're very glad to have him. Stephen, welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes. My name's Stephen Bibisi. As I'm from Higganum, Connecticut. My business, Kingdom Financial Solutions, is also located in Higganum, Connecticut. And we do proactive tax planning. We show individuals how they can retire tax free and still having all the money that they need. And we also show business owners how to avoid that pesky self employment tax and lowering their income tax. So we do complete financial planning. Anything you need financially, we can help you do, along with elder care planning. We have representatives, we have specialists all over the country that help us. Besides that, I am the treasurer for Rabbonis Love, and I am a missionary for Ukraine there. And we help widows and orphans, not just in Ukraine, but in many countries, Philippines, Pakistan, Nigeria. So we currently are in the middle of some fundraising for Ukraine to try to help buy generators and hot stove units so they can survive this winter.
Fantastic. And that's, big thing we want to talk about is how did Rabbonis Love start and how did you get involved?
Well, Rabbonis Love started from my pastor is a personal friend of mine. Actually met him years ago. Met his wife in a grocery store trying to sell life insurance, and I went to their house and they sold me spiritual life insurance, eternal life insurance. So that's how I met them. And they had been going all over the world, helping people and ministering to people. And so I'm a member of the church. I'm the treasurer of the church, and we just decided, let's make this legal. Instead of me trying to set up a nonprofit on my own, why don't we get a 501c3 with the company that you've already have, and let's start doing mission trips. So we've yet to do one together, but hopefully we'll be going to the Philippines together next year.
And what's the mission of Rabbonis Love?
The is to help widows and orphans and people in need, and just to preach the gospel wherever we go, to show people the love of Jesus through compassion. I've seen great healing being done, just being compassionate for people, that you give them hope where they had no hope.
Excellent. And of course, as you said, you've been very involved in the situation in Ukraine. Tell us a little bit about what you've experienced with this.
Well, we started off. We've been able to get truckloads of food. When I say truckloads, about 2 tons, which is about 60,000 pounds, for about $500. All they want is for us to pay their gas backwards. So we were able to get 4 or 5 truckloads, and so we've had a warehouse of food, and we've been um, helping people out. People would come to the church there and out just outside of Odessa, and they're being fed more than the government's feeding them. So it's really helped revive the church there. But recently, the Russian political that they had a broadcast out how they want to shut down this the electrical grids. The Ukraine's right down 40% down on electricity. They have to shut electricity off at some points of the night. I have friends that only get power for 1 hour a day. So they say without electricity, the sewers will back up. There'll be no water. Food will spoil. There'll be no place to cook. That we want to starve and freeze people to death. So we are going to combat that with what we can do from our end and provide heating elements for people.
And how do you said you've been getting food to them. Now you're trying to get generators. And how have you been getting these materials into the people?
Well, the food is coming from another country. I'm not sure if it's Germany or Poland. it gets lost in the translation with them, but other countries are shipping food in, and we've made a contact with them if they could bring them to our warehouse. So we have a warehouse, and we have two or three warehouses in the Odessa region, and we're just distributing food to everybody. I'm actually going to Germany on November 28th to try to find firewood, generators, food, try to make more contacts. I have a contact with a policewoman in Poland that already sends food into Ukraine. So I'm going to see if we can partner up with her and help some of the organizations that I'm connected with that haven't been able to get food.
So you're working with other organizations as well. This is a fairly major effort. It's not just, five people trying to drive in food.
Correct. It's so I actually have two other ministries in Ukraine. One lady that's had an orphanage, helped out orphans and widows for the last 10 years. She's going into dangerous areas and providing food and clothing for young children. And so we support her. And then there was another pastor we met with Sunday morning from Nikolaya, where they have no food, people are desperate. And so we're trying to get food there, and we're trying to get generators down to them also for the winter.
And of course, without these generators, we're hoping for a warmer than expected winter, but without those generators, the death toll in Ukraine is just going to rise.
That is correct. So some of the generators can heat up to 40 people. So we're looking for churches and buildings that, maybe people can come in and get warm, and people can come in and get a hot cooked meal. Maybe we can't put a generator in everybody's house. I would love to do that. But if we could at least give them a place to come in and get warm and get fed, and that would help reduce the death toll.
Absolutely. Now, of course, Rabbonis Love predates what's going on in the Ukraine now. Tell us about some of the other places that you're helping out.
Well, we go to my pastor's been to Nigeria. He's actually going to Nigeria next month. He's going to Pakistan after that. We just had 2 trips to the Philippines this year where we had a crusade. We actually put up a Rabbonis Love store out there and gave somebody an opportunity to own the store and make an income. And just in the Philippines, there was a family that had been separated for about 30 years because the husband had to go work in one island and the wife had to stay at another island, and they have not seen each other. We were able to, through their son, who was a missionary there, have them come back and work the store, and now they're back together. So it's kind of success stories like that. It's a great love story that, through compassion, what can be done.
Nice. Now, you just mentioned Rabbonis Love store. Tell us a little bit about that. How does that work?
Well, we're still in the process of building it, but it's a convenience store in the Philippines. So it's a place for the people in the Philippines to come and get food at a discount level. So we invested the money into building the store for them, and we're investing money to provide the inventory. And like I said, we gave that family ownership in the store.
Fantastic.
We've also in the past have built homes for people in Nigeria. It takes about $2,000 to build a home for a family.
And you said you're building homes in Nigeria. What other initiatives have you done?
Well, we also, before the war broke out, I was in the process of giving a widow her first home. We were 2 payments behind. We had 2 payments left before the war broke out. So we're hoping this can end and we can get her into that apartment. And so, that's one of the things that, I've been working on to try to help.
All right. So far, we've mentioned creating a store so that people can make a living, building homes, getting food into, Ukraine, getting fuel and generators into the Ukraine. How do you decide what initiative you're going to do? It sounds like, you're doing quite a bit.
Yeah, so I have a pastor that I met in Odessa, and so I have him manage everything because I don't know when these new people come up, who can I trust, who can I trust? So we meet with them, we talk about them, talk to them. We ask them to send us reports, and we start off, we'll give a little, and we get reports back. And if we like what we see, then we'll entrust them with more. So it's really it's all needs based. Wherever the needs are, whatever countries we're called to go to, we see what we can do to fulfill the needs. One other thing we did support a Catholic church out in Pakistan. Just over the summer, they were having horrible mudslides, and a lot of people were dying. So we were able to provide resources for them to, put people in shelters to feed them.
Fantastic. So the projects essentially come to you. People reach out to Rabbonis Love, tell you what the situations are, and then do they come up with solutions, or do you figure out how you're going to help them?
No, so like I was telling the pastor yesterday, your job is to tell me what the needs are because you're there. We're not there. Give us reports, show us evidence of what you're doing. We want to make sure you're doing the work. My job is to fundraise and find the resources to help. And so we just have to prioritize what's important. Like, for instance, people in Poland need help because that's the highest refugee area, but it's not as important as people in Ukraine. At least they have homes and heat. They may not have all the food that they need, but these poor people in Ukraine might not have anything. There are some areas where they don't have anything. So
Yeah,
we have to prioritize.
we've seen on the news the footage of bombings and entire neighborhoods just being flattened. How do you get folks in those areas to know where your warehouses are? I mean, Ukraine's not I mean, it's not huge, but it's not a small country.
And no, it is. It's not a small country, so that's up to the pastor in Odessa to we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff with social media. We constantly. So when I get reports back from them, they're posting stuff over there in Russian. I share it and I try to add something in English so that to get the people here to know that what really is happening, and these are real people, not just a story. And so hopefully through social media, people are finding out where there's food in a certain area.
And can you tell us about any of your success stories in Ukraine? Something that maybe, tugged at your heartstrings.
Well, one of the things, so there was a woman that they adopted three kids. They've had, so they had four children, and then her husband got killed in a car accident. So when we met her, and I don't even know what made me say it. I saw something on a TV show from like Steve Harvey, and I just repeated it that showed her that, your life is important too. And she said that you're the first person since my husband died that looked at me as a person and not a mother. So, so I was just trying to encourage her and trying to encourage people that, your life matters too. You need to do stuff for yourself. And I feel through that encouragement, and she started living life again. And during the war, she ended up getting married to another gentleman. So I feel like that by us showing compassion helped her move on with life.
That is a great story. We've seen so much about the geopolitical issues and what's going on the Russian side, but we don't see a lot about the people. And that's really what we need to remember is that, these are innocent bystanders. They had nothing to do with the war. they were attacked. And these were people going about their lives, and they have the same needs that everybody else does, except they're under the tremendous stress of constant bombardment and the threat of death.
Yes, constantly. Could you imagine every time you hear? So I know people that escaped and went to Munich, and we met with a group there. And even when planes fly over Munich, people start ducking because they have the flashbacks, they have um, the horror that they've gone through. So it's going to take years, and it's going to take a lot of compassion for these people to heal. Think about your neighbors. Think about us with Canada or Mexico would viciously bomb us. That's what they're going for. Russia is their neighbor. Who would have thought that they would brutally murder innocent civilians?
Yeah, nobody really saw this going as far as it has. Um, the UN has officially declared that Putin's actions are war crimes, and hopefully he will be brought to justice. But on a personal note, what these folks are going through, we talk a lot in this country about PTSD, and we see it in soldiers, but we've sort of trivialized it with, somebody has, a death in the family. Oh, he's traumatized. It's like, this is real trauma, and it's not finite. It goes on every day with no end in sight. And that's what these folks are dealing with. So aside from the physical danger that they're in from the bombs and bullets, there's the psychological effect as well. And you're absolutely right. These folks need to be thought of as individuals, as people, not just a mother, a father, a victim. They're all individuals, and they're dealing with a situation that most of us can't even imagine.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to stress that when you attack children hospitals and schools and churches, malls, this is not war. This is an act of terrorism. All right. And that's what they're doing. It's if you can think of 9/11 and think how we felt, but it's not just two buildings. Now it's all the buildings and leveling the whole city. And then it's going on to the next city and trying to level that city. That's what they are going through. And so I just try to relate it a little bit. We had one day of it. They've had it since February 24th.
Yes, and it's ongoing. And I mean, honestly, I think more than 9/11, people, well, unfortunately, there's fewer and fewer still alive, but what they're essentially going through is the Blitz from World War II. It's constant barrages every day. And it's not something that it's literally been generations since people have seen this, especially in Europe. And it's ongoing. And the tragedy is unimaginable. And it's fantastic that you're getting food to these people, you're getting generators to allow them to continue surviving there. Now, for those, I know you spoke about a number of people who have gotten out. Is your organization helping people get out of the war zone?
Well, one of the organizations that I support is helping um, single mothers, widows, and young children get out of the war zone and come to Odessa is known as the city of refugee. They feel Odessa is safer. And so, during World War II, that's where all the Jews migrated to. So and that's where they found refuge. So we've been bringing people to Odessa. But as far as leaving the country, unless you have, I think, 3 children, you're not allowed to leave as a male. So we got families that go to Poland or Germany, but they have to leave husbands and sons and fathers behind. So they choose to stay. They choose to stay and fight. And so we just try to get them in a better area.
With Odessa being a refugee location, what are the conditions there? Are there the resources in Odessa to handle this kind of a flood of refugees?
Probably not, and that's why we keep on trying to get truckloads of food and try to keep fundraising and provide everything that we can provide because there is a lot of people coming there, and there is a lot of needs, and there's going to be even more needs if people can't turn power on and the food that they do have spoils. I guess if it's that cold, you could put the food outside, um, but they still don't have anything to cook it on. So, that's why we want to get these diesel and gas powered stoves. But that also, as we know, diesel is in short supply. So it's we're trying our best, but I don't know there's going to be a cost to that where we have to provide money to buy gas to operate the stoves.
Right. And the cost, we've seen the cost of diesel going up and up. We've had numerous warnings about a shortage of diesel. So that just makes the situation that much harder.
Correct. Now, I don't know if that's a United States shortage or if it's a worldwide shortage, but the prices, when I was there in May, the prices, and that's when we were getting spiked gas prices here, it was still higher over in Europe.
Yeah. Well, gas prices are typically higher in Europe. So, what we're dealing with here, it's just magnified over there. Now,
Right. Well, they were dealing with, though, like driving by, like this one lady that has the ministry with the orphans and the widows. She would do a journey trying to drive through past the craters that were in the ground. Gas stations were blown up. They were, it was hard to get gas. And so what would take 2 hours to get home on a trip would take over 6 or 7 hours. So,
wow.
They had to deal with, it's one thing when the prices are higher. It's another thing when there's no gas to be found.
Yeah, that certainly makes it even harder. So how do you do your fundraising?
Well, sometimes we put stuff through Facebook and LinkedIn. We're looking for ideas. I have this program called Children Helping Children. So we're trying to get children involved, and they can create any fundraiser they want, and we will help them. We want to give them full creativity. So, like one fundraiser we're going to do I was hoping to do it now, but it got pushed out back to the fall or to the spring, was a soccer tournament for one of the local soccer leagues. So, it can be through restaurants, it could be bake sales. We did a Pampered Chef fundraiser at one time. So I'm searching for ideas. I'm open to anybody's suggestions and anybody that wants to help.
Fantastic. And of course, as all of these people, every little bit helps. So it's not just a matter of getting, big donations. Every dollar helps, every couple of dollars help. And of course, you're sending the money over rather than shipping food over because it's a lot more effective that way.
That is correct. And I can't give you an accurate estimation of what it costs today, but before the war, it would take $10 to feed one person for the week. So any amount matters.
Absolutely. And while I'm sure costs have gone up, it's still, if you can feed a person for a week for $10, even if somebody just gives a couple of dollars, that's a big help.
It's a huge help.
All right. So we are just about out of time. So if somebody does want to get more information about Rabbonis Love or donate, how can they do so?
So they can go out to rabbonislove.org. That's spelled ARABBONISLOVE.org. Or they could mail a check to our corporate headquarters in Higganum, Connecticut at 415 Killingworth Road, Higganum, Connecticut 06441.
Fantastic. And I'm so glad you could be with us this week, Stephen.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
I think each week we talk about what the big takeaway is, and I really think for me the big takeaway this week is the reminder that all of these people are dealing with individual problems, and it's not just the constant death threat that we see on the news. It's the psychological toll that they're going to have to deal with for quite a while, even after the situation ends. And if we can help them out with food, if we can help them out with the generators and get them the support they need, it's going to be better for them in the long run.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.